Hi, everybody. Welcome to season 2, episode 3 of the popular Remembering Muizenberg series. What is it exactly? Well, if you don't know, you should watch the recordings, which are on the Muizenbergers channel, Muizenbergers channel. All of this is in commencement and in anticipation and with excitement of the upcoming centenary, which starts on December the 28th and it goes through January the 4th. We will be having different events almost every day other than the public holidays of the 31st and the 1st. I will be sending an exact schedule when we know all the details, and we are definitely in process. It will be sent this month. And we also encourage as many people from overseas, from Johannesburg and Cape Town and others, to come in and at least join for the major celebrations, which are on the Shabbat of the 29th and the 30th of December, as well as the 4th, which will be a huge ex-Muizenberg meetup. But that's just the closing and the finish, and then there'll be things in between as well. Lastly, also mentioning, we are going to be starting a centenary fund, which is a revival and future of Muizenberg Schul Fund, hopefully to be invested in programming and leadership and all different things that the Schul needs to really cater to the Jews of the southern suburbs. We'll be running this campaign later on in the year, so just introducing that now, as well as, of course, whatever we are going to be hearing today will be shared on YouTube in about a week's time before the last speaker. I'm hoping that we have 2 speakers. We at least have one. The second one's having a little bit of a technical issue, so we'll see if that can work out. But I'm going to introduce Simone Berg. She goes by Simone, Simone, Simone. She can tell you exactly how to pronounce it. It depends on which stage of the world and of her journey she's been in. But she's doing a very interesting thing. She's going through, I think it's 24 slides. So look out for yourselves and for people that you know of growing up in Muizenberg. I want to thank you, Simone, so much for agreeing to speak. You're talking from Johannesburg. I'm very lucky to have known your children and very happy that some of them have made it to Israel. And that's the world that we live in today, where everyone is all over the world. Thank you for the effort that you've made in making this presentation. And I'm going to just ask you to unmute yourself and maybe just briefly introduce what you're going to be doing, and then I'll go straight to the pictures. I'm going to make you the spotlight, so wait for me to do that. And voila, it's all yours.
Oy vey.
I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Hi, guys. My name is Simone. My mom named me Simone, but when I moved to, people in Cape Town call me Simone. When I moved to Pretoria, they called me Simone because of Afrikaans. And in Johannesburg, it's back to Simone or Simone. So whatever people choose, it's absolutely fine. As long as I love myself, that's the most important thing. All right, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be talking on the synchronicity of my life in Muizenberg. Using a train as an analogy to share connecting and reconnecting. So picture double nought. So life is like a journey on a train with its stations where people hop on and off, with changes of routes and directions and embracing challenges and obstacles along the way in order to move on and forward, to grow and develop from their experiences. I have decided to share some insights into my late parents' lives, whose yortsaats were for my mom on the 6th of Iyar, 10 years, and my dad, the 14th of Iyar, 50 years. My mom, Lily Pesa Liba Bat Chaim Eliyahu Halavi Hurwitz, my eldest granddaughter, Sarah Liba, is named after my mom. One of the twins, Ashi Levi, and another grandson, Noam Eliyahu, are named after my Zeda. My dad, Philip, Pfeifers Ben Shimon Yitzchak Stein, I was named after my Zeda. He passed away before my mom married my dad. Picture 1. Both of my parents were born in Lithuania. My mom came to South Africa with her mom at 2 years old and lived in Paarl in the Western Cape. Picture 2. My dad came to South Africa with his mom at 13 years old and lived in Oranjezicht in Cape Town. My Baba Chana Zilpa Steyn, near Baynard, one of my granddaughters, Tehila Chana, is named after her, set up a boarding house in the gardens, Cape Town, for the passengers who sailed by ship to Cape Town from overseas, and to feed the hungry children daily after school. Picture 3. My Zaid on my mom's side came to South Africa first to set up home and work. He established a kosher, non-kosher butchery in Huguenot Paarl. He was the shochet and distributed meat to the whole of the Western Cape for 50 years. Unfortunately, he was murdered in the cold room of his butchery by some of the mouths whom he fed on a daily basis. My mom actually lost her husband and father within 6 months of each other passing. Picture 4A. The outer. Before my dad met my mom, he had a yearning to become an actor. So Baba Chana said in Yiddish, my dad always wanted to teach me Yiddish and told him that it was an old-fashioned language, so I'll say it in English. Go to Hollywood in America and get rid of this out of your system and just come back home without an actress on your own. Well, he duly came back home alone, but with an American accent instead. The compromise was watching his favorite actors at the famous tea-room bioscopes, Charlie Chaplin and the like. Picture 4B. Prior to my parents finding each other, his girlfriends used to put pictures of him in the local newspapers, resembling the actor John Bowles. Even if I say so myself, he was always well-dressed, from wearing a fedora hat tilted to the side, check jacket, knitted tie with a paisley silk cravat, pleated trousers and two-tone shoes. His dress sense was rather forward-thinking before it was fashionable. He actually had a men's outfitter shop in Claremont and dressed the men with his good dress sense. Picture 5. How they met. My mom used to travel by train from Paarl to the big city, Cape Town, to work, and during her lunch hour would frequent the famous Waldorf Cafe, which was a popular hangout amongst the Cape Town community, where they listened and jived to the blues and jazz. My dad also loved going there. So needless to say, with his outer appearance being so suave, he certainly caught the attention of many ladies, and my mom was the lucky one. That's where the courtship began. Interesting how my mom also had a very good dress sense, and in latter years would assist and dress up the Jewish ladies from top to toe with accessories for various simchas at the famous Duncan Taylor in Weinberg and Pam's Fashions in Sea Point. Picture 6. My dad was 15 years older than my mom, whom he treasured, adored, and worshipped. They loved to dance at the famous Blue Moon Hotel in Lakeside near Muizenberg and were a great hit on the dance floor. Now the inner. Besides my dad being charming in a gentleman manner, he would always open the car door for a lady, as well as walking on the outside of a pavement, so that my mom and his children were protected. He was demonstratively affectionate in a loving, warm, caring way. He enjoyed joking and laughing and mimicking people. That's where my son JP and nephew Ava get it from, which is our tonic. He always put the needs of others before himself. My mom was a quiet, beautiful, sweet, gentle, caring soul who always had an inner giggle and who chose to focus on the bright side of things. She was a deeply spiritual, intuitive, and independent person with an amazing inner strength that carried her through good and challenging times, filled with determination and perseverance, and never giving up. They both lived a simplistic lifestyle, filled with love, peace, joy, and harmony, embracing life's givings and takings with acceptance. Now about me and my memories of Muizenberg, picture 7. At birth on the 30th of September 1952, I boarded the train at Fishhoek. I was born at Fishhoek Maternity Hospital, where I met my late parents, Philip and Lily Steyn, who took me home to live with them and my older sister Hilary at number 10, Tawanda, Palmer Road, Muizenberg, for 13 years. In Muizenberg, my mom was well known for her baking bulkers, cheesecakes, marble and chocolate cakes, herrings, and her beautiful knitwear. Her legacy, as well as my late mother-in-law Tess, continues as our to-do knitwear, which is stocked at a shop in Johannesburg and the Old City in Jerusalem. Besides family and friends schlepping from town to Muizenberg to Duisenberg, various Rabbonim would come to us for tea after having their dunk and swim. We had an open home. In fact, the overflow of holiday makers during the peak season came from the kosher hotels to board by us. Picture 8. Every Friday, before Shabbos came in, we would all congregate around the old black telephone. And my dad would call his mother, sorry, I'm getting emotional, who lived in town, to recite the Kiddush and Eshet Chayil in full force. He was in the shul choir and also known for his performances around the Shabbos table. It would take about 20 minutes to recite the Kiddush, especially when he and his brother would sing one in soprano and one in alto tones. That is where our two sons, JP and Daniel, and our nephew, Ivor Jaffe, got their voice ranges from. Growing up in Muizenberg, picture 9. You can see the background. I think that's the Balmoral Hotel in the background. Picture 10. Okay, so I was 4 years old on the bob floor. Everybody remembers the famous bob floor. I think this lady was Maureen, if I remember correctly. I'm not 100% sure. I was very shy then, but I actually danced on the bob floor. So as I remember once, when there was a mom and daughter competition, the bob floor, picture 10 on the bob floor. I was too shy to participate. It was a daughter competition, a mother and daughter competition, and I was too shy to participate. So my mom daringly took a random child to be her daughter to dance, and guess what? They actually won. I also remember when Uncle Vic Davis performed on the open air stage on the lawns and sweets were thrown to the crowd. As I was about to pick up a sweet that fell right next to me, a kid grabbed it and pushed me over. We went immediately across the road on Beach Road to Dr. Weinberg's house, only to be informed at the front door that he had just passed away. I was devastated and didn't want anyone else to attend to me but him. Eventually they consoled me and we landed up at Weinberg Hospital. I had actually fractured my collarbone. Picture 11. The 1963 Muizenberg Junior School class. There are few faces and names I recognize and remember. This was Miss Hunis, our teacher. The twins, Rodney and Jeffrey Melmerd, Alan Kay, Marilyn Rosenberg, Mel Spiro, Sharon Bloch, Denise Blankfield, Jonathan Bloch. We actually reconnected at Cape Town High School as he was in my class then in high school in Cape Town. Chesna Gordon, who was my very first school friend. I remember we met at the railway crossing whilst walking with our moms to start sub A, and we have reconnected over the years in Johannesburg. Picture 12, 1964, Muizenberg Junior School, Miss Frindling. There's some more familiar faces and names. Picture 13, 1965, MJS prefects. Hilary Wolf, whom I bumped into in the Old City, Jerusalem, about 49 years ago. Sadly, she passed away at a young age. Marilyn Rosenberg, now in Australia. I used to go on the train with her to Bergfleet to her piano accordion lessons to keep her company. Her parents, Naomi and Jack, used to join my parents at the Blue Moon Hotel to dine and dance. Jennifer Berghaus, we used to practice our dance routines for school performances at her house. She always had a dream and desire to go and live in Hollywood, where it actually came true, and lived in Beverly Hills for a while. Mignon Neckridge, we reconnected in town where we lived nearby each other, and more recently at our Muizenberg gathering. Picture 14. That is Miss Hickman, Carol Hickman, who's now Carol Marquis, and a few of us on Facebook, friends with her. Again, some familiar faces, Denise Blanksfield. I reconnected a few times whilst visiting Cape Town at her Denise Delights tea room in Sea Point and at our Muizenberg gathering. Denise Hopkins reconnected more recently when we went to Paternoster, where she lives and has a blow glass workshop. She reminded me of our play dates at my house in primary school. Hilary Wolf, we used to go to the late Wendy Davidson's house and put on fun performances. Mignon Neckridge, we did modern dancing with Auntie Frida Fernandez at the Muizenberg Hall at school. Mel Sparrow, we were friends and in fact bumped her brother Harold at a cemetery in Johannesburg a few years ago. Sula Kuras reconnected more recently through a family member. Jennifer Berghaus again connected with her brother Derek on Facebook. Picture 15. Chesna Gordon and Michelle Rosen and myself. Chesna and I were good friends. Her parents, Uncle Harry and Auntie Ethel, had the shop variety stores on the main road opposite the bowling green near the Schill. Another mutual reconnection is Leslie Shapiro, part of, I think, one of the hotels, Millie Marcus and all the sisters. Micheline Rosen, her parents, Uncle Carmen and Auntie Bella, were good friends with my parents. We used to spend Pesach Seders with them at their house in Windermere Road. All 4 children's names started with an M: Melanie, Martin, Micheline, and Minette. Angela Schubers was a very good friend with Micheline. Her mom and my mom were friends. Also remember Rika Aladev, sister. Picture 16. You can see in the background the pavilion and the fedora hats, the guys wearing fedora hats. That is Minette Rosen, the youngest of the Rosen family. Picture 17. So many homes were let out during the peak season to Joburgers, and Helen, the girl on the extreme left, and her family always used to stay at the house opposite mine in Palmer Road. We became good friends and spent many holidays together in Sea Point and Johannesburg. I was her bridesmaid. Whilst my sons were at Yeshiva Gedola, her husband Aubrey went over to my son JP and said, "You must be Simone's son. We have recently reconnected." Picture 18. Jennifer Berghaus, Linda Smith, and Simone, typical scene at the Snake Pit. Picture 19. Tamara Levine, Brenda Figg, and myself. Again, how the circle joins itself. Tamara Levine's mom, Zelda, and Auntie Frida Shapiro, Colin's mom, were sisters. My mom and Auntie Frida were friends. I met Tamara when we moved to town. We used to let the southern suburbs guys know what time we would be on the train to go to Muizenberg, and they would get on at the Newland station. Brenda Figg, picture 19, is in the middle, is a first cousin to Annette Frank. Her parents, Uncle Izzy and Auntie Ray, were friends with my parents. Synchronicity at its best again, that my late mother-in-law worked for Fig Brothers before she was even married. In fact, Brenda reminded me yesterday that Colin and Michelle Shapiro are her machetenister. Her daughter Lynn is married to their son Grant. I remember Auntie Ray Shirk, Michelle's mom. Here are some pictures of connections and reconnections. Picture 20. Anne Schumann, my mom, and Auntie Doris. Auntie Anne and my mom were good friends. I was friends with Rochelle. One incident that comes to mind when the Herzl Hall was being built, the floor planks were at that stage of development. And so Rochelle decided, against me warning her not to do it, to jump from one plank board to the next. Well, unfortunately, she slipped and the plank hit her eyelid. I ran to her house to tell her family. In fact, we reminisced about it very recently when she came from Cape Town on business and stayed with us in Johannesburg. She also attended our Muizenberg gathering. Auntie Doris and my mom were good friends as well. She was a good knitter. I have stayed in touch with her daughter Reva over the years, and she too joined our Muizenberg gathering. Another friend of my mom's was late Auntie Pauline Marcus, whom I connected with at Marcus, where she and Uncle Joe had a stand. And when I moved to Johannesburg, visited her at Sandringham Gardens. She always called my mom Lil. Also the late Auntie Edie Wise, who lived opposite Muizenberg Junior School. We had many sleepovers. Another synchronized moment, the late Evelyn Smith lived in Pretoria. Her son Jared and my son JP were at Carmel together. So I would see Merle when she visited her. In fact, Evelyn's husband Mike just passed away last week. Again, synchronicity at its best. Evelyn's sister-in-law Esme Smith near Berkowitz. I recently met her nephew Alan at a shul nearby us. Also, the late Sylvia Tobacco. I was friends with Bev and reconnected when her sister Rochelle passed away. We are Facebook friends. Another synchronized moment was when the late Andrea Smith, I forget her maiden name, lived in Pretoria and my mom was visiting, and whilst at a Carmel school function, she came up to my mom and said, "Mrs. Stain, you haven't changed since Muizenberg days." I wasn't aware that her back door faced our front door in Palmer Road. Also discovered that the late Ivan Freeman, who went to Muizenberg High School, he also lived in Pretoria. Also met Monica Jacobson near Silverstein and reconnected. Remember Auntie Ray Cohen came to visit my Auntie Bella in Toronto. She and my mom were friends. I connected with Leon in London 49 years ago and on Facebook. Auntie Evelyn Scott, my mom's other sister, got married from our house in Muizenberg and was married in the Muizenberg shul. Picture 21. This picture of my late in-laws, Tess and Dennis Burke, were taken in Muizenberg whilst they were courting. They retired from Claremont to Muizenberg and stayed at San Rafael, which was the old Imperial Hotel. Tess became good friends with Jean Tucker. Tess was an excellent knitter, and when Jean would go overseas or Johannesburg to see her daughters, Tess would be in her office knitting. Another synchronized moment is that Mr. Lazarus and my father-in-law were friends and was his accountant. I attended Beitel sessions at Lazarus' home by David. I reconnected when he lived in Pretoria and more recently reconnected with Myrna, his ex-wife. Another synchronized moment, Jean Smith-Machi, Marlene Myers, was my next-door neighbor when we moved to Johannesburg. Picture 22. This is a famous joint in Palmer Road. People would recognize it. In February 2020, I was determined to reconnect with some old school friends, and I'm so grateful it happened. Unfortunately, Wendy Davidson passed away from COVID, and so did Mignon Neckridge's husband, David Braun. Picture 23. Some familiar faces and names. Denise Zinn, Marilyn Israelson. We reconnected when we planned this gathering. Miriam Marin lived diagonally opposite me in Palmer Road. We reconnected on WhatsApp and the gathering. Linda Katzen, my husband's cousin. Reva Price, been friends since children. Her daughter Talia Jorna. Myself, Denise Blankford, reconnected. Bev Brower, the late Simon Goldberg's niece. I knew her uncle from Creda before I met her. We went to the same high schools and traveled together overseas and are still good friends. Rochelle Schumann, known since children. Mignon Neckridge. Picture 24. Gratitude. So having been fed, nourished, and nurtured by my parents' wonderful attributes, it has given me inner strength to pursue my personal growth and journey and path, embracing the good and challenging times, for which I'm eternally grateful. I'm grateful to Hashem for his continuous wisdom, guidance, and healing, which I've intuitively felt and embraced, and PG to continue to integrate into my life, going forward in joy and good health, always, and to have emunah, faith, and bitachon, trust, for all my family, friends, and community. And so we say, l'chaim to life. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you so much. That was delightful. First of all, I'm going to say a few points, and then I'm going to ask anybody else if they remember some of the names that you've mentioned or saw anything in the pictures that they reminded them of anything. I love what you did in terms of synchronicity of life, showing where you're from and how you knew people when you were growing up and how you've met them again after many, many decades, haven't seen them. And that's exactly what the theme is of the centenary celebration at the end of the year, where the vision is to try and bring as many people as possible from around the world to have a Muizenberg meetup the way that this community deserves, because I can see how much love there is coming from growing up in Muizenberg. I was speaking to Monica Jacobson today, who was saying what a blessed thing that she came back, took a very similar route to you of going via Pretoria, Johannesburg, and coming back to Muizenberg. And I know that there's a couple of Pretorians on this call as well, who you know, and who have themes with Muizenberg as well. So thank you so much, Simone, as well as your husband, Adrian, who did the pictures,
Thank you.
for selecting such good ones and for giving me, at least, a younger generation who didn't grow up here, a glimpse. I've heard a lot of people talking about the top hats and the plaid pants or the checkered suits and all this type of stuff, but I haven't actually seen the photos. So it was very interesting for me to see that, and especially to see what was it called? Muizenberg Junior High School. I don't know, or junior school. I'm not sure exactly what it was called, but just to see class photos of how it looked. The big difference from how it looked then to, I'm sure, how class photos look today. But it was just delightful. So thank you for that. I'm going to ask if anyone has, I know we've got quite a few chats. People wrote in the chat saying, well researched. And there was even a picture of a killer whale, I think, hunting a dolphin, which was the big news in Muizenberg this week, that they found orcas in the bay, which are hunting dolphins. Amazing, amazing things to see. And that's the Muizenberg that you can never really take away. The Jewish community obviously is not what it used to be, but the beauty of this place is magnificent. Last thing I'm going to say before I ask anyone else to jump in is that I went to Windermere Road today. You mentioned Windermere Road. I was there today at the caravan park. Other people have spoken about how they went on vacations to the caravan park in Windermere Road. I went to see if we could rent the pavilion at the end of the year for one of our functions. And that's where they have an office. So that's how I got there. I was riding my bicycle in the rain and got all wet and soaked, but I loved every minute of it because it was just so beautiful to just be on a bicycle in Muizenberg. I'm sure what you had done many, many times, as well as many, many other people on this call. So thank you again, Simone. I'm going to now go into the and say, does anyone have a comment? Unfortunately, Celia and Gerald aren't going to make it to today's talk. I've got a Linda Mindy saying, very nostalgic talk, would love a copy of one of the pictures from the snake park. So just please be in touch with that. I should also add that if anyone wants to be added to any of the groups that we have, email muizenberg.shul@gmail.com, and I can add you to any of those lists which send out newsletters and the centenary information. Does anyone want to unmute yourself and tell us a little bit about what you saw in some of the photos, and maybe does anyone recognize anybody, etc.? Just going to let everyone have a chance. Just please unmute yourself so that I can hear you and just say who you are.
Hello. How do I unmute
Yes,
myself?
who's that? Is that you, Monica?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to highlight you if I can. Yeah, Monica, we can hear you.
All right. Hi, I was absolutely fascinated by your presentation. I'm Monica, was Monica Silberstein, and I lived in Windermere Road. I don't know if you remember. And believe it or not, I'm now living across the road in Windermere Road from where I used to live. Do you remember at all? Sylvia,
I think you got to unmute yourself.
Am I not unmuted?
No, we can hear you, Monica. Simone's on, yeah.
Simone, I don't quite remember you, but you were, obviously a lot younger than me. And of course, I knew Palmer Road very, very well. Family lived there. And I'm trying to think how old would you be now?
Monica, hi. I met you in Muizenberg of late. It was before COVID. I went to the show and we sat together, and I think it was with Cecile Bierski. And you were already living in Muizenberg, but I met you in Pretoria, and I remembered your brother, Alan Silberstein, from Muizenberg days, because you were much older than me. I'm now 70.
Oh gosh.
And through mutual friends in Pretoria, we connected. Pam Kirkle.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay. And then over the time when you moved away from Pretoria, went back to Muizenberg, I sort of reconnected with you from time to time.
But did you realize that I was living back in Windermere Road?
Not Windermere Road, but I think it was your late dad's apartment.
No.
Not. Not.
No.
Okay. Okay.
I'm now in one of my late dad's houses.
Okay. Yes.
House.
Okay.
In
Wonderful. Yes.
Thank you, Monica. And I will visit you in Windermere, please God, soon. We love your house and my children love your garden. So thank you, Monica, for those comments. Anyone else want to say anything to Simone about her talk, or did anyone notice anybody in the pictures that you haven't seen for a while and just want to comment on that? I will go. Yes, who's that?
Yeah, it's actually Dave Lazarus speaking.
I thought so.
Okay, so Dave, yes.
Just great to hear you refer to Beitar, because Ryan's wrote me in for next week, and I'll have quite a bit to say about Beitar and all of you guys and girls. Right. So see you next week. Nice that you remembered.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, David. Thank you. I think we've got a question for you from the chat. I don't know if you can see the chat there. There's a question that somebody asked is, Monica, did your brother live opposite us in Windmill? Okay, so it's a question to Monica. Monica can answer that privately. Anyone else want to say anything before we close it at this point?
Okay,
just unmute yourself. I'll give one. Yes, who's speaking?
I unmuted myself. I just want to say hi. And remember when you came to Cape Town and we went to your house, remember we asked them in Palmer Road if we could go inside and look at your house.
Right. I've seen it a few times, and of course it's been altered inside. But the one thing is that where I stayed in my bedroom, the bedroom cupboard is still there. It's the same cupboard. They never changed it. It must be a very special cupboard.
I live parallel. I live behind where you used to live, and every time I walk past your house, I think, okay, there's Simone's house. It's quite a cool feeling. And Miriam across the way, Miriam Marin used to live across the way.
Exactly.
Okay, and I reckon Alison wants to say something, because I'm just putting her on the line because I know she's coming to Cape Town and we will come to shul together, Ron. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yes, Alison.
Hi, Alison.
Hi, Simone.
Hi there.
Just listen to your talk and mentioning all those people and school days, and it was just so nice. And I'm also reconnected with a lot of them, and I'll be in Cape Town next Thursday.
Oh wow!
Right until the end of July. So Ryan, I'll be seeing you.
Okay. Alison, Rabbi Ryan, is it possible to give my email and my cell phone number on the chat, and then when Alison comes through, or whoever would like to chat from here onwards, forever.
Sure. Do you want me to put your do you want to put your chat details, or do you want me to put it, Simone?
If you do it, I don't mind.
Okay.
You've got my email and you've got my cell number. Because I know Linda wants a picture of that picture, and I can WhatsApp it to her if she gives you her cell number.
Okay.
Actually, you mentioned Linda Smith. I saw her.
Yes.
Now, talking about synchronicity,
she's there.
I was married to Richard.
Right.
He came from PE. And some of his relations stay in the next sort of village from me, and he had a barbecue, and they are friendly with Linda and her husband.
Wow, I love it.
Us Muizenberg people get everywhere.
All over.
I saw it.
Okay, so on that note, Simone, can I just butt in for a second?
Yes.
And I just have to, because this is synchronicity as well at play. I got an email 2 days ago from somebody about this Muizenberg series that we're doing, who responded to me, and they said, "Hi, I'm living in Colombia and etc., going through Colombia. Now, I happen to marry a Colombian woman from Colombia, number one. And number two is the place that he's in, which is a small town. I mean, it's not a tiny village, but it's as like Muizenberg, but it's a town, is where my brother-in-law is currently working. So, you know, just synchronicity of, I couldn't believe that I was hearing about an ex-Muizenberger who's been living in Colombia the last 25 years while I've doing this series and married to a person from Colombia. That's synchronicity to me as well.
Amazing. Another synchronized moment is that JP's mother-in-law is from Colombia.
Oh, wow. Sure. I didn't know that.
Wow.
There's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Are you sure we're not all related?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So I'm just going to send the your email address here, and then everyone can see it. And if anyone wants to contact, this is Simone Berg's email address. It's on the chat now. So just look in the chat and you'll see it there, and you can contact her for any of the pictures.
And the
Simone, thank you again for what a wonderful talk and what a wonderful presentation of your life, going from even before your life, your parents, and going through the walk of how Muizenberg, what was it? Paarl to Muizenberg, then to Pretoria, then back to Muizenberg. Palmer Road is hot property today. You can't find property in Palmer Road. That is what they call the village of Muizenberg. And that June that you said is always full. I think it's closed on Mondays, but other than that, it is always full. And I walk past there every Shabbos on my way home. And I always see people there, and I always say hello. And they always say hello to the rabbi. And, you know, it's very, very interesting that you were at June just prior to COVID. God bless the souls of your friends who got lost in COVID. And that was the only part of your talk which was a little bit sad. But it was interesting for me to see that you were at June, February 2020. That's the month that I arrived back in South Africa in Muizenberg. And then 2 weeks later, COVID began to the world, and that coffee could have never happened for the next 2.5 years. So just unbelievable. That's a synchronization right there as well. So thank you all for being here. Any closing thoughts, Simone? Yeah, Alison, you've got something to say.
The day that you all were at Dune, I think Marilyn FaceTimed me. And we were doing a video call, and I said hello to everyone.
Oh, I didn't know. Do you still have that, Marilyn? Maybe
no, it wasn't recorded. She just on WhatsApp video call, and because I knew that was happening. And that was, funny enough, one of the very few times that Wendy went. In fact, that was the only time Wendy went out to a reunion. Because prior to that, I think the year before, just prior to that, they had a big Muizenberg reunion that I was there for, and they had that at Cork Bay. And she wouldn't go to that for some reason.
Okay. And then what she did was, when they left June, she actually took Rochelle and my friend Bev, and she drove around Muizenberg to show the houses and where she lived and where Rochelle lived and where Beverly's granny lived. So Simon Goldberg, where they lived.
I still do that. Every year that I come out, I still go, and I go up Bath Road. I spent my life there. You know, Wendy and myself were friends from 1963, 64.
Right.
Then I married a brother, but we were best friends. So,
it was just a feeling I had that I really wanted to reconnect with these people in Muizenberg, and I'm just so grateful that it actually happened. Because look what happens in life. Look what happens. I just want to get back to Farrell Hope. When he spoke last week, Farrell, you mentioned your mom, Anne Hope. Is that right?
Let's see if Farrell can hear you. He might be on mute.
Okay.
Daryl, if you're hearing, you just unmute yourself.
Did you mention last week in your talk something that your mom was Anne Hope?
Yes.
Because I remember her name. I remember growing up, Anne Hope. I'm sure she was friends with my mom.
I'm trying to remember. What was your mom's name?
Lily Stain.
I know she was friends with Staines, but I didn't remember the first names.
Okay, well, it was them. We were the only Stains in Muizenberg. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I see Gerald Marcus is on. And Gerald, I don't know if you were on when I spoke about your mom. Gerald Marcus. We grew up together, Gerald and Basil, his brother. And Gerald, hi there.
Hi. Yeah,
I don't know if
hi. Yeah, it's Gerald speaking.
Yes, hi, Gerald. I don't know if you heard the part when I spoke about your mom.
Yeah, that's when I just happened to switch on. So
amazing. Again, synchronicity.
Yeah. So as I say, I nearly had tears when you mentioned my parents. So.
Oh, no, very special people.
And I could tell you, my late Bob has stayed in your house in Muizenberg. She took over your house. And
yes.
When I came back from Bulawayo, because I was there for a year, I moved in with my gran. So I stayed in your house as well in Palmer Road.
I don't remember that. Crazy. Wow. Yeah. Very special.
You did bring back the good days, the good young days.
Yeah. Just keep it in the heart. Keep it in the heart.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We now stay in Johannesburg now.
Yes, so are we. We also in Johannesburg.
As I say, I'll contact you. Okay.
Good. Okay. All right. Okay, Gerald.
Thanks, and thanks for mentioning. Keep well.
You too. God bless.
Bye.
And that makes me very happy to hear, Simone, that you know, maybe you met another old friend who might live around the corner from you in Johannesburg and you didn't even know it.
Yes.
And that's what this is all about, is to try and just reconnect people with friends.
Right.
Do you want to say any closing statement or
I just want to say hi to our other son, Dan Burke. I see JP's off, but Dan Burke is on.
Right.
And JP, see? Oh, there we go. There. Okay. And where's Dan Burke?
Hi, JP. Hi, Dan. How's it? Hey, any of you want to say anything? Hey, you can say something to your mother.
Yeah, maybe our sons can say something. I've said enough.
Let's see if I can. I've got JP here. Let's see. I'm trying to see the names. JP, there you are.
Yeah, I'm here. Hi. Well done, Mom. Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
You give me nachas.
Dan, are you there as well?
I'm here. Hello, Rabbi Ryan.
How's it?
We gave Rabbi Ryan a taste of what Muizenberg produce is all about by being in yeshiva together, hey?
Exactly.
Well done.
We didn't play around, Dan. We don't play around. We go heavy.
Yeah, this is from Master Breshit.
Yeah, listen, it is synchronicity to see you. It's been many years, Dan, since I've seen you, and you look not a day older than when I knew you in your early 20s.
Yeah.
And just great to see you. And I'm so happy to hear that you're in Israel. And this is now the next generation to see where the Muizenbergers, who came from such a rich Jewish history, of such a familial, as you said, Gerald Marcus was in your house and you were in someone else's house, and Alison was in someone else's house. Everybody was just friendly with everybody else. And that's what a community is really meant to be. And today we live in a different world where communities stretch beyond the boundaries of place. And I would consider your children, Simone, as part of my general community, because I've only got fond memories of both of them. And now they're in Israel, so I've got extra friends to visit now that I know that they're there. And I hope that our paths cross, Dan and JP and the whole family. And Simone, I'll say that to you as well. I hope that I meet you and Adrian in good health and happiness whenever you visit Muizenberg, or maybe one day when our paths cross, wherever Hashem allows that to happen, the synchronicity of bringing Columbia and Joburgers and Praetorians and I think Paul, I wonder if there's someone out there in Paul who knew the people from Paul. Just on that note, I've been asked to help out the general Stellenbosch Paul area with regards to, there's something like 87 students at Stellenbosch University at the moment that they've got a database for Jewish students. They're looking to do things for Shabbat and several things. There is already something in place, but they want to increase it. Yeah.
So synchronicity as well. September last year, Adrian and myself and our daughter and son-in-law and children were in Stellenbosch at the shul because our son-in-law conducted the service and Rabbi Herring conducted the service as well. And they're having their centenary, I think, October, November, Stellenbosch.
I believe so. I believe they are having their centenary in October. So that might be one that us local Muizenbergers should try get to and support them there. And I hope that they come as well. But yes, that's also happening. Just we're all connecting with each other in all various ways. And that's the benefit of modern society. So we do lose out of having friends living next door, but we at the same time gain from being able to have friendships with people from around the world. So I'd like to thank you, Simone, for a delightful presentation. Unfortunately, Celia and Gerald send a lot of love. We'll try to get them at a future date when their Zoom is working. But sending lots of love from Muizenberg to everybody. A reminder to think about coming to the centenary at the end of the year. And we'll send more about the fund for the future of Muizenberg Synagogue, as well as for the centenary later in the year. And out of that, I think they say Das Vidanya in Russian. Lehitraot, see you later. Bukarov, with much love. Kon amor. Thank you all for being here. And Simone and Adrian, thank you.
Jackie Rosenberg wants to say something.
Okay, great. We got one more comment. Fantastic. Jackie, Mervyn, I'm looking for you, asking to unmute. Okay. Mervyn, can you hear us? Jackie, can you hear us? Just unmute yourselves.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes. How's it, Mervyn?
Although we were not related, there's a special relationship between all Muizenberg people. And there's a Yiddish expression for it. You're related vers fuss potgewer. The people know vers foot potgewer. The weiß was the pitched.
Definitely.
What does that mean? What's the loose translation of that, Mervyn? For the non-Yiddish
translation of that is that the horse is related to the stirrup like the stirrup is related to the saddle.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
That was taught to me by Farrell Hope.
Oh wow. So I see, Mervyn, you didn't only learn about spiders, hey? You were attentive.
No, not only about spiders,
Good, lekker. Okay, well, thank you. I see lots of names from people all over the place. This is definitely an international crowd. We've got people from Toronto, I see. We've got people from Pretoria, Joburg, Israel, England, US. I wonder if we've got any Australians out there, but I'm sure we'll hit in the recordings. So thank you all once again. And Simone, you're always invited to come and visit. Hopefully see you soon. And thank you, everyone, for being here for part 3.
Thank you.
Have a good
afternoon. Hi, Linda Parker. I recognize you.
Keep well, everyone.
Bye.
Yes. See some of you soon.
Alison, safe travels. Look forward.
Yeah.
Cheers,
and Simone, I'll
Cheers,
email
man.
you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.